Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. The Star Wars have a message. Well, when George Lucas created the first film, I always doubted he had much of a plan. It's said that he only came up with the original Star Wars film after he failed to get the rights to create a film adaptation of the Flash Gordon serial. I've always viewed Lucas as an excellent world builder and cinematic and special effects genius. But when it came to the story and theme of Star Wars, it's always been a mixed bag, and over the years, especially when the expanded universe was created, things kind of just completely got out of control. And then, of course, later on, you had the Disney purchase of the franchise. And so if you think about it, hundreds if not thousands of individual creators have added a piece of themselves to this much larger galaxy. My favorites have always been the novels. I love the work of Timothy Zahn and the more controversial Karen Traviss. Now, ever since Disney's taken over the franchise, we've seen a more centralized authoritarian control over the story and the narrative. Much like a strong man promising to streamline the national identity and economic output of a chaotic country, Disney has even tried to purge individual narratives that it doesn't like by labeling them legends. And in fairness, it does seem to streamline and make the content a lot less confusing, but it's also a lot less inspiring and a lot more sterile. But I get what they're going for. Video games like Civilization are always much more fun when you start a new campaign. The end game is just way down and way too complicated. But even so, Star Wars is way too large to control, even for Disney. Now you have fans claiming ownership of the content and describing what this stuff means to them. Also, you even have YouTubers who are adding to the lore, which is of course against the wishes of the tyrant mouse. But that doesn't matter, because what percentage of you guys buy into the Jar Jar Binks Sith Lord theory? Or understand the effect that the destruction of the second Death Star had on the galactic-wide Ewok jerky supply chain? So this is the reality we live in now, no matter how much those corpos over at Disney want to control everything. As much as George Lucas tries to retcon things to make himself look like a genius, no one really has control over the franchise anymore, and that's why I like Star Wars so much. It's not a mere story anymore, it's a living and breathing galaxy. And once you understand the rules, your imaginations can take you into amazing directions. Star Wars is so massive that it even has its own subgenres, like the Star Wars heist subgenre, the Star Wars young adult subgenre, and of course my favorite, the Star Wars zombie subgenre. So just like those dirty old gym socks that you haven't washed in a year and you've thrown countless amounts of sweat and bodily fluids into, now something has finally grown out of all of that chaos, a life of its own. And so forget about true general AI, we've created an entire galaxy. Before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor, lightsaber.com, the premier place to get lightsabers that I totally didn't loot from the Jedi Temple. Today I'll be showing you guys the Guardian X. This is a xenopixel blade, which means instead of just shining light through a tube, the blade is actually made out of a LED strip, so it can kind of do cool stuff like this. There are tons of pre-programmed modes, colors, and sound effects built into the blade. I personally really like the Guardian X design because it's extremely sleek. And it's the type of lightsaber you would see on a Jedi Temple Guardian. Now, because of this clean design, it's one of the lighter xenopixel blades you'll see. It still has all those premium features and feel and look, but at the same time, it has the balance of one of the dueling sabers that lightsaber.com usually offers. And if you guys want to check this out, please look at the description down below. You're going to get 20% off on all lightsabers right now. And also you'll get an additional 10% if you use our discount code MEOW. That's all caps. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. But is there actually meaning in MEOW of this, or is it just chaos? Well, I've read a lot of articles talking about how Star Wars is anti-authoritarian at its core, especially viewed through the landscape of American politics. We have left-leaning approaches, like this Vox article titled, "The Star Wars Prequels Are Bad and Insightful About American Politics." The subheading then states that The Phantom Menace is a story about rampant inequality spurring the rise of fascism. The writer goes on to mention how Jar Jar Binks is a racist caricature, and then she goes on to equate this rise of fascism to Donald Trump, and this was written way before the 2020 elections, actually. George Lucas himself was also very liberal. He said the following line,
"So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause."
Was about the Bush administration's war in Iraq, which we now realize were carried out based on false intel. And of course, you also have Anakin's line,
"If you're not with me, then you're my enemy,"
which parrots this line from George Bush.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
But the liberal point of view isn't the only political side that has co-opted Star Wars for their own messaging. I've seen in the comment section below frequently people comparing Palpatine and his big government strategies to President Joe Biden and the Democrats. I've seen critiques of the Galactic Republic and later on Mon Mothma's demilitarization policies as an example of why military dictatorships like the Empire are superior. I mean, I've also played the contrarian before in my videos. I've explained why Palpatine's creation of a massive military-industrial complex was ultimately benevolent because he was trying to prepare the galaxy for the legendary Yuzang Vong invasion. At the same time, I've also explained why that same military-industrial complex led to an overall decrease in the quality of life for most people living in the Republic and the Empire. When Rogue One came out, I was really happy about the inclusion of Saw Gerrera's Partisans, a hardline militant group that was loosely allied with the rebels. Thought it was an awesome and great opportunity to bring some much-needed critique to the Rebel Alliance, who up until this point were unquestionably the good guys. So the politics in Star Wars are pretty messy, and it's really up to the individual viewer and their own biases to kind of create messages for themselves using this larger galaxy. Now, when you start getting deeper into Star Wars lore, somewhere around the 100-hour mark of reading and watching Star Wars content, you'll start to notice so many conflicting ideologies and messages and political theories that you'll begin to wonder what the point of all of this is in the first place. And you also probably look at someone like George Lucas as just a simple individual who wanted to create an exciting space opera. This Politico article sums it up perfectly. It's titled "The Empty Politics of Star Wars." It concludes that the struggle between order and freedom is actually perpetual in Star Wars, and viewers are just eager to fill in their own details, and everyone injects his or her own politics into the plot. This brings me back to a memory I had in high school. I had this communications class, and I made a short film for it, and this film was essentially a bunch of jackass stunts strung together with a narrative. It was completely pointless, but not to my communications teacher, who overanalyzed the hell out of this thing and drew all of these beautiful metaphors from it. I mean, she was actually brought to tears by this movie I made. Because at that point I realized, as a creator, you should always keep your mouth shut and let others see amazing brilliance in it and claim their own ownership. But don't mistake Star Wars' lack of a concrete political message as meaning that it is nihilist in nature or even simple or unfocused. Actually, the recent High Republic series has nihilists as the main enemy of the Jedi. So it's a little too obvious, I think, but fine. I think the better understanding, as we mentioned before about that gym sock, is that Star Wars is immensely complicated because of the sheer amount of individuals who have created additions to it. It is truly a living, breathing universe. This is how I'm able to do an entire Star Wars channel on YouTube. Star Wars is far more complicated than most other fictional worlds, and therefore it deserves a much more nuanced approach that can't be limited to just liberals bad, conservatives good, democracy good, and authoritarianism bad. Now, by the time you get to your 1,000-hour mark of reading and viewing Star Wars content, you'll begin to truly understand what the meaning of Star Wars is. You'll see through all of the nonsense. This is a franchise where you have main characters who are Jedi, like Luke Skywalker, Anakin, and Rey, but you also have main characters like Rey Sloane, an Imperial officer who truly cared about bringing stability and peace to the galaxy. You also have characters like Thrawn, a Chiss alien who comes to the Empire in search for that same stability and peace. You have separatist heroes like Mina Bonteri, who went against her own leader by trying to make peace with the Galactic Republic. And then you have clone troopers like Captain Rex, who resisted Order 66 and saved his friend Ahsoka Tano. Even Sith Lords like Darth Vader eventually redeemed themselves as does Dark Jedi like Kylo Ren. So the real message in Star Wars is that no political organization, no religion, no belief system is perfect. And when we get caught up in blindly following them, trouble emerges. Our energy and our trust is much better placed in the hands of individuals in the galaxy. We need to believe in each other regardless of what category or faction we belong to. The heroes of Star Wars have always embraced individualism. They've always gone against groupthink, and they generally trust their own moral compass enough to not allow others to think for them. When First Order Stormtrooper Finn refused to gun down those Force cultists during the mission in the beginning of The Force Awakens, he becomes a hero worth following. When Anakin Skywalker refused to accept the judgment of Ahsoka Tano by the Jedi Council and found the real culprit behind the crime she was accused of, he became a hero, and his son would also follow in those footsteps. When Yoda and Ghost Kenobi warned Luke not to confront Vader on Bespin, Luke went anyway because he wanted to save his friends. Star Wars reminds us that individuals do matter and that we shouldn't discount our ability to affect the world around us. Sometimes it just takes one lone individual to inspire an entire revolution. Sometimes it just takes one individual to stop tyranny or bullies, and it definitely only took one X-Wing to destroy the first Death Star. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my take on Star Wars' most important message. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. And as usual, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. My name is Alan, and my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.